right? And suddenly, every digital tool you count on daily, gone. Whether it's for work, keeping touch, or just, entertainment, poof.
Yeah.
Imagine your email disappearing, cloud storage vanished, all those phone apps just, well, not working.
It hits you then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How much we just assume these things will always be there.
Exactly. It really highlights how tangled up we are with this tech.
It's a pretty stark thought experiment. It shows the potential shock waves if it all just stopped.
And that brings us right to our deep dive today. What if the big U.S. tech players, we're talking Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon, what if they just decided to pull their services out of one specific place?
Sounds dramatic, maybe, but...
Yeah, I know. Sounds like a tech thriller plot, but stick with us here.
Because focusing on one place, especially one with a unique economy and big digital plans, well, it's a really useful way to explore this whole idea of digital resilience.
And that place, Aruba.
Ah, Aruba. Beautiful place.
Absolutely. Stunning beaches, that amazing water, you picture it right away. But for this discussion, the key thing is its economy. It leans incredibly heavily on international tourism.
Something like 88% of GDP, right? Massive.
Exactly. And they're also really pushing for digital transformation. So you see the potential issue.
Yeah.
What happens if the digital scaffolding they're building on just, vanishes?
It's that tension, isn't it, between the traditional tourism economy and this push for digital,
Yeah.
built potentially on foundations controlled elsewhere.
Yeah, it highlights potential vulnerabilities.
Definitely.
Now, our goal here today isn't about, fear-mongering or anything like that.
No, not at all.
We really want to dig into the potential ripple effects if this kind of digital withdrawal happened in Aruba, across different sectors, the whole society, really.
And then think about what practical steps a nation like Aruba could take. It's about strategic thinking, being prepared.
Looking ahead, not predicting disaster.
Precisely. Understanding the landscape, the dependencies, even for scenarios that seem maybe a bit extreme.
So to get a handle on this, we've looked at a few things. Analyses of the digital world, obviously. We imagine something like an Aruba National Digital Transformation Strategy for, say, 2025, 2030, to gauge their ambitions.
Right, and maybe fictional central bank reports mentioning tech infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. And hypothetical updates from telecom providers like CTAR.
We even considered some more academic-style thinking, something like digital sovereignty for small island nations, to get that broader view.
Okay, great. So let's start with the government itself. How much does the Aruban government actually use these kinds of tech services day to day?
Well, like most governments now, they're increasingly digital. I mean, you have to assume they're using tech pretty heavily for administration, internal comms, delivering e-government services.
Like online tax filing, permits, that sort of thing.
Exactly. All that stuff needs a digital backbone. So, yeah, pretty reliant, I'd imagine.
So what's the hit then? If those services vanished, what happens to, say, their IT department or just ministries trying to get work done?
Oh, the impact could be really significant. They probably rely on standard office suites, email, word processing, spreadsheets, document sharing.
The usual suspects. Microsoft 365, Google Workspace.
Probably. And if those suddenly disappear, it hinders everything. Basic communication, managing information, delivering services to the public, things could grind to a halt pretty quickly.
Now, I did read about Aruba partnering with Estonia's Cybernetica. That sounds like a positive, proactive move.
Absolutely. That's a really smart move. Estonia is a leader in e-governance and working with Cybernetica on interoperability, basically getting different systems to talk to each other. That's key for robust digital government.
Okay.
But interoperability is mostly about data exchange. The actual tools government employees use every day to, create the documents, write the emails, those might still be the US-based ones.
I see. So data can flow, but making and managing it might still be a problem.
Potentially, yeah. It's one piece of the puzzle.
And what about the nuts and bolts, the actual network infrastructure, servers, routers, all that?
Another critical layer, companies like HPE Aruba Networking, they likely provide some of that hardware. And while there's definitely a push towards on-premise solutions or private clouds.
For more control, more data sovereignty.
Exactly. Which is good, but even setting up and maintaining those might involve some reliance on international, possibly U.S. software or expertise. It's all interconnected. The goal, though, is clearly towards that greater sovereignty.
Okay, let's shift gears. Tourism. We said it's vital. How tied is that sector to U.S. tech?
Deeply. very deeply. I mean, think about how you book travel.
Online travel agencies,
Yeah.
OTAs.
Right. Expedia, Booking.com, mostly U.S. companies dominating the market.
So if they suddenly aren't available in Aruba or can't list Aruban hotels,
It's a massive hit to visibility and bookings straight away. And it's not just visibility. Their algorithms control so much. It's like a gatekeeper to the global market.
Yeah.
Losing that. Wow. Aruba would need a whole new marketing strategy.
really tough for smaller hotels, I imagine.
Incredibly tough. But it goes further. The hotels, the tour operators themselves, they use so much U.S.-developed software.
Like for managing the property, check-ins, billing.
All of that. Property management systems, PMS, then customer relationship management, CRM software, marketing tools,
Yeah.
payment processing systems. A lot of it originates in the U.S.
So it's not just getting the tourists there, it's running the entire operation once they arrive.
Precisely. Imagine a resort suddenly losing its PMS, chaos, reservations, housekeeping, billing. Everything breaks. Tour operators lose their booking systems, their customer databases.
Wow, okay, that paints a picture. What about finance, another critical area? How would that hold up?
Finance is always key to stability. Now, there's a bit of good news here, potentially. The Central Bank of Aruba, their central bank, apparently uses a Swiss core banking system.
Olympic banking system, right?
That's the one. So for their core fundamental operations, that suggests some independence, which is strong.
Okay, that's a definite plus.
It is. However, the commercial banks, other financial institutions, they likely use a mix. International software for operations, definitely for cybersecurity, super critical. They likely use a mix. International software for operations, definitely for cybersecurity, super critical in finance and things like their mobile banking apps.
But some of that could be US-based.
It's quite possible, yes. And think about international transactions. Even if local systems work, if they can't process payments from tourists, maybe because the links to Visa or MasterCard rely on U.S. tech.
That cripples the tourism economy all over again.
Exactly. It's a potential choke point.
They do have that iPago instant payment system locally, though.
They do, yes. iPago is great for local P2P, person-to-person payments. But again, for international cards, tourist spending, those systems often have to interface with global networks. And those networks often have significant U.S. ties.
Right. Okay, so connectivity itself, the telecoms infrastructure, CTAR, Digicel, are they vulnerable?
Well, they're the key players providing internet, mobile, keeping the island connected. CTAR has shown some good foresight, diversifying with European partners on subsea cables, like that Celia CETC project.
That helps spread the risk.
Definitely. But the core network gear, the software managing the network, the OSS and BSS systems, the customer billing systems, there's still a decent chance of U.S. components or dependencies lurking in there. An interruption could cause widespread connectivity issues.
It feels like this touches almost everything.
Yeah.
What about just regular businesses?
Yeah.
Shops, larger companies?
Oh, absolutely. It had felt across the board. Your small retail shop using a U.S. point-of-sale system suddenly can't make sales or track inventory easily.
Right.
Larger companies. Maybe they rely heavily on cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud for their websites, their data analytics, their operational software.
Software as a service, yeah.
If those go dark, they could lose access to everything. Productivity tools, customer data, the
Right.
platforms they run their business on. Huge disruption, major inefficiency, potential losses.
Okay, essential services, healthcare, education. How digital are they, and are they exposed?
Both are increasingly digital. Hospitals, clinics, they're using IT for patient records, maybe some diagnostics tools, admin tasks. We don't know the specific systems, but a U.S. tech reliance is certainly possible there, too.
And education. Aruba's invested in fiber for schools, which sounds great.
It is great. Really positive step. But what about the software? Learning management systems teachers and students use, educational apps, collaboration tools for online classes.
Could be U.S. providers again.
It's quite likely. So a disruption there could really hit the education process hard.
And finally, just the average person in Aruba. What does this mean for their daily digital life?
It would be really noticeable. Think about it. Email, Gmail, Outlook, probably gone. Cloud storage for personal files, iCloud, Google Drive, OneDrive, gone.
Social media.
Mostly U.S.-based, right? So likely gone. Streaming services, Netflix, whatever, gone. Many mobile apps for banking, navigation, daily tasks. Many are U.S. companies. It's like your phone suddenly becomes, Well, just a phone again. Maybe not even that. If the core OS has issues, all those digital conveniences we barely think about just vanish.
So if you put all these pieces together, all these dominoes falling, what's the big picture, the overall consequence for Aruba?
The potential consequences are frankly quite severe. You'd likely see a major economic hit, obviously, from tourism and general business disruption.
Operational paralysis, maybe?
Could be in government and businesses. Then there's data insecurity. If critical data is on U.S. servers and not independently backed up, it could be lost.
Communication breakdowns, too.
Very likely. With key platforms gone, it would be a massive setback for Aruba's digital transformation plans. And honestly, potential for real societal disruption if people can't access essential services or information easily.
It's a stark picture, even as a hypothetical. So
Yeah.
what's the way forward? What can Aruba realistically do to hedge against this kind of vulnerability?
Well, like we said, a total withdrawal is extreme. But the thought experiment itself really drives home the need for digital resilience, for more autonomy in this digital age. And there are definitely steps Aruba could explore.
Okay, let's walk through those with step one.
First and foremost, a really comprehensive national digital risk assessment. You have to map it all out. Audit everything: government, tourism, finance, healthcare, education. Identify every critical dependency on foreign tech, especially if it's concentrated in one country.
You can't fix what you don't know is broken, basically.
Exactly. You need that clear picture of your vulnerabilities first.
Makes sense. So after the assessment,
Then you formulate a proper national digital sovereignty strategy. This isn't about cutting yourself off. It's about smart policy. A roadmap for more national control over critical digital infrastructure, over data, over the software ecosystem.
strategic diversification, maybe.
That's a huge part of it, yes. Building options, fostering local and regional capabilities, reducing over-reliance.
Okay, so under that diversification umbrella,
Mhm.
what kind of specific actions are we talking about?
Well, one big one is actively promoting and adopting open source software.
Right. Linux, LibreOffice,
Mhm.
things like that.
Exactly. Linux for operating systems, LibreOffice or Collabora online for productivity, Matrix or Jitsi for communication, Nextcloud for cloud storage. There are mature, secure open source options for almost everything.
And the benefit is more control, less reliance on one vendor.
Precisely. More transparency, no licensing lock-in. Now, there's a caveat. You need the skills to manage and maintain open source. So investment in training or finding partners with that expertise is also key. It's not just flicking a switch.
Understood. What else for diversification?
Look beyond the U.S. Actively explore and integrate tech providers from Europe, Asia, Latin America. There's innovation happening everywhere. Make a conscious effort to vet and potentially use alternatives for cloud, software, hardware. Spread the geographical risk.
And maybe look closer to home, too, within the Caribbean.
Absolutely vital. Cultivate the local and regional tech scene. Support Aruban IT companies, Caribbean tech hubs. Grow your own solutions tailored to your specific needs. That builds long-term resilience.
Okay, let's talk data again. It's so critical. What steps there?
Strengthening data governance is key. Clear rules about how data is classified, handled, stored, especially sensitive citizen and government data, and seriously explore data localization.
Meaning keeping data physically within Aruba.
Or at least within regionally controlled data centers under Aruban jurisdiction. That partnership with Estonia's Cybernetica is a good foundation here for secure data exchange, but having control over storage location adds another layer of sovereignty.
So it's like having a solid digital contingency plan.
Exactly. Which leads to the next point. Develop proper national IT contingency and disaster recovery plans, not just data backups, but procedures. How do you keep critical services running if a major foreign provider pulls out? What are the alternative platforms? How do you migrate data quickly? Think it through before it happens.
And cybersecurity has to be woven through all of this, right?
Absolutely non-negotiable. Bolster national cybersecurity capabilities. A strong national strategy, incident response teams. You need to protect whatever infrastructure you have, whether it's local, foreign, open source, whatever. Proactive defense, rapid response.
What about the people? Preparing the population.
Crucial. Invest in digital literacy across the board. And develop future-ready skills in the workforce. People need to be adaptable. If the tools change, they need the skills to learn the new ones, to participate fully in the digital economy, no matter what software they're using.
Sounds like it needs a real collaborative effort.
Definitely. Public-private partnerships are essential. Government, businesses, academia, maybe international partners. Everyone needs to be involved in building this resilient digital future.
And finally, for Aruba, as a small island nation.
Engage internationally, talk to other small island developing states, SIDS, share best practices, maybe pool resources for exploring alternative tech, advocate together for a fairer global tech system. There's strength in numbers and shared experience.
This whole deep dive, it really throws into sharp relief how interconnected everything is digitally and the vulnerabilities that come with that. It's not just about convenience, is it? It's fundamental to how a country functions now.
That's the core takeaway, I think. The scenario might be extreme, but the lesson is real. Proactive steps towards digital sovereignty, towards resilience. They aren't just nice-to-haves anymore. They're becoming essential for navigating the 21st century.
So maybe for everyone listening, take a second. Think about your own dependencies on these global tech giants. What would happen to you, to your work, your community, if those services suddenly weren't there? It really does make you consider that balance, doesn't it? Between the amazing convenience we get and the potential fragility underneath it all. Something to think about.